Hello again. Thank you for your time and your attention and your engagement yesterday. I hope it was useful. Please take a moment to fill out the survey so that we can get better at doing these things for different airmen and guardians. And I'm going to take this moment to quickly answer a couple of the lingering questions that you posted in the chat. One was, why? Why are we doing this? Why is innovation important? I have sort of two answers. One's kind of one you can anticipate, I think, which is, man, this is what people are talking about, right? This is what the Chief of Staff of the Air Force has done in his letter about innovation. This is what the Vice Chief of Staff recently put out. And it's just the nature of the geopolitical contest we find ourselves in right now that innovation is important. The other answer, I think, has to do a little bit to something I alluded to yesterday, that I think when we have people play the innovation game, when they practice designfulness, they are learning the same sort of skills and habits of mind that are useful for nearly everything we do, right? As leaders, as officers, as scholars, as war fighters. And that deliberately or explicitly are things like, the design process requires empathy. Well, we know empathy is super important for leadership, right? The design process requires you to navigate ambiguity. And we know that the world we live in is one that's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And then the design process is one that encourages us to take small steps, have a bias to action, to try safe to fail experiments instead of trying to get everything perfect before we try anything. Because we know that is the way that we have to execute mission command and decentralized control. And it gets to the other lingering question that I wanted to address, which was, how do we do this? And the way the question was posed was interesting. How do we make massive change in a giant bureaucratic organization? Well, we know that all giant organizations are resistant to change. That is the nature of the organization. And that's the idea of the hairball. Again, a book I highly recommend you reading. But every organization needs a certain amount of people orbiting the hairball, right? What they're doing is relevant to the organization, but is not just mired in the bureaucracy. So things that are relevant, but sort of on the outside. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be massive. I would encourage you to look for projects that are proportional in radicalness and scale. So the more radical the idea, the smaller the scale has to be for you to try it, to make it safe to fail, to get buy-in for it, and to not really boil the ocean. Because if you're trying to make massive change, it's going to take some sort of really cataclysmic event or someone at the very top that's very charismatic, that has all the resources at her disposal to be able to make that happen. So I would encourage you to do, for you and your cadets, is to make small changes, try those things out, take shots on goal, and see what happens, learn from them, iterate, and then get better and ratchet up that what you're aiming for as you go. I hope that helps. I'll take any other questions that you have or any other support that you need in your journey. Thanks.